So there are several systems that are affected for children with autism, and for each child, it's going to be something different. So for most children, they're going to have these buckets in different amounts. So some kids have more challenge with digestion problems, some have more problems with detoxification, but in general, these are usually the three areas that are really common that are affected in autism. And when you look at these three buckets, you also see how they affect what's going on in the brain. And so I think that that's another really key part. This is kind of a different way of showing the slide that I showed earlier for the connection and the whole body disorder between the gut and the brain. And so we really want to support these three systems as much as we can. Another piece of this, by the way, is that a lot of times you hear about the gut, and it's really important, but not all kids have obvious signs of digestive problems. So even if your child doesn't, they might be heavier in one of the other areas in terms of needing support there. So just kind of keep all of that in mind, that there's different ways that kids can be affected, but a lot of the diet principles support multiple areas. All right, so a little bit on the immune system. The immune system handles inflammation, and it also handles our ability to fight viruses. So in the case of a lot of children with autism, they have a weakness in the ability to fight viruses, funguses, candida, bacteria, things like that. And so sometimes you end up with more needs for antibiotics and other areas, which can just compound some even other areas like digestive function. Also, that area that fights viruses, there's also the area that creates inflammation. And inflammation is needed, but if you have an inflammatory system that can't turn off, then you have a real challenge with the area of inflammation. And so we want to kind of bring those back into balance, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Detoxification is really important because those toxins can go to the brain, they can influence what's happening for these kids, and toxins are an area that we actually have a lot of control with our food to avoid many things. Some things we can't affect, but the foods that we eat, we can. And then digestion. So this is an area that we're going to spend a lot of time on. So the ability to digest and properly absorb the nutrients that we need. We need, calcium and magnesium for hundreds of different enzyme processes. We need the breakdown of our proteins and things. We need to take protein in, but we need to break it down into the amino acids so we can build neurotransmitters and other things from there. And so we need, it's not only what we eat, but it's also what we're able to digest. So for kids with autism, firstly, we need to get them to eat these good foods, but secondly, we also need them to be digesting them so they're able to utilize them in a variety of different manners. So the gut is a really, really key piece of this, and a lot of what we do with autism diets influences what's going on in the gut, because food, every time we eat food, it has constant contact with that digestive system. So the foods that we eat can be really healing and helpful and nourishing to the gut, or they can be problematic and inflammatory and affect all the rest of the systems. And so that's why, as we're talking about many of these principles, I'll come back over and over again to the importance of the gut. The gut also happens to have the largest part of the immune system, because as food goes in, the body has to recognize whether this is a food or a virus or something. We need the largest part of the neurotransmitters are also interestingly found in the gut, not in the brain. And obviously our ability to digest all of that is going to affect the whole body. So we'll come back to this many times as kind of a foundational component to help support and heal the whole body. So there's a lot of nutrient deficiencies in autism. Some of them, there are studies done. Others are lots of clinical evidence and experience from various doctors and other clinicians who have been studying this. So minerals, magnesium, calcium, zinc, others, B vitamins, the fat-soluble vitamins, vitamin D and vitamin A, vitamin C, other antioxidants, the omega-3s, and then all of those amino acids that are important for brain chemistry detoxification. So we know that a lot of these deficiencies occur in autism. So why is that, and what does that have to do with the food that you're going to feed your kids? Well, what do these deficiencies stem from? There's so many areas. There's poor digestion and absorption, as I mentioned, but there's also the ability for the cell to be able to utilize the nutrients. There's the ability to convert the nutrient into the active form. So being able to convert, for instance, folic acid partway down the pathway to folinic acid, further down the pathway to the active form of 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate. So there's a lot of steps that have to happen to even take one nutrient down to the active form area.